Election 2024 Special Ghosts of the White House. Okay, so we're in the thick of the 2024 election, but let's face it, sometimes you just need a break from the real-world political drama.
I hear that.
So you ready for a deep dive into something a little spookier?
Always.
We're talking ghost sightings and unexplained happenings. The most famous address in America, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Because you know what they say? The White House might also be the most haunted.
What's fascinating, it's not just about ghosts. The White House is this place steeped in history. Decisions that shaped the nation were made there, and maybe some of the people who made those decisions, well, they decided to stay on.
Ooh, okay. I'm ready to get spooked. Where should we start?
Well, we could start with Abigail Adams, our second First Lady. She's been seen carrying laundry towards the East Room.
Laundry, that's not exactly terrifying.
No, but think about it. The East Room was the warmest and driest room in the unfinished White House during her time.
Oh, right.
It's a strange contrast, right? This founding mother, practical, down-to-earth, now spectral figure, still concerned with domestic chores.
I never thought about it like that. It makes you wonder if other first ladies ever see her and think, hey, at least I'm not doing laundry.
Exactly. And then you have David Burns, not as famous, but his disembodied voice reportedly keeps popping up, demanding recognition for selling the land D.C. is built on.
Wait, so he's haunting the White House because he feels cheated on a real estate deal made centuries ago. That's a new level of holding a grudge.
Exactly. And it's not just the presidents themselves who might have some unfinished business. It's also the people whose lives were intertwined with the history of this place. You know what I mean?
Okay, so we've got a laundry-carrying founding mother and a disgruntled landowner. Who else is hanging around 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue these days?
Well, let's move on to someone with a bit more of a fiery reputation. Andrew Jackson.
Oh yeah, Old Hickory.
Known for his temper in life, apparently his ghostly self isn't much different.
Oh, I've heard about this. Didn't Mary Todd Lincoln say she heard him stomping and swearing around the White House?
She did. She claimed to hear him in the Rose Room, which was his former bedroom.
Wow.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Jackson's presidency was full of conflict and controversy. Maybe all that turmoil is somehow reflected in the energy of his ghost.
So are you saying that the White House is basically a giant echo chamber for all the drama that's happened there?
Possibly. And speaking of echoes, we can't forget Harry Truman. He wrote to his wife, Bess, about listening to the ghosts walk in the White House.
No way.
He even specifically imagined Andrew Jackson and Teddy Roosevelt arguing over FDR.
Hold on, Harry Truman. The guy who dropped the atomic bomb. He believed in ghosts.
Well, whether he believes in them or not, he definitely experienced something strange. And this raises an important question. Why have multiple presidents, regardless of their personal beliefs, felt or heard something unexplained in the White House? Is it the pressure of the office? The weight of history, or something else entirely?
Okay, that's officially creepy. And it leads us right into the most famous White House ghost of them all, Abraham Lincoln. I'm guessing we're going to spend a good chunk of this deep dive on it, right?
Absolutely. He's the most frequently reported White House ghost, and the stories are, well, let's just say they're hard to ignore.
All right, I'm ready. Give me the highlights.
Well, where do we even begin? There are so many accounts of his presence being felt. For example, Grace Coolidge actually saw him looking out the Oval Office window toward the Civil War battlefield.
Wow. I mean, I know he's the most iconic president, but that image is chilling,
Yeah.
especially during such a turbulent time in our own history. It almost makes you think, what if his spirit really is watching over us?
It certainly makes you wonder. And speaking of turbulent times, sightings of Lincoln reportedly ramped up during FDR's presidency, another period of incredible stress for the nation. Eleanor Roosevelt, for example, felt Lincoln's presence in his former bedroom, the very room that she was using as her bedroom at the time.
I guess when you're dealing with a world war and the Great Depression, a little ghostly comfort wouldn't hurt. So was it just the Roosevelts who sensed Lincoln during their time in the White House?
Not at all. There's the story of Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands. She apparently fainted dead away after seeing Lincoln at her door. And then there's Winston Churchill. He claimed to have encountered Lincoln while emerging naked from his bath.
Hold on. Winston Churchill, butt naked, runs into the ghost of Abraham Lincoln. Now that's a visual.
It's definitely one of the more memorable anecdotes, and it's not just about apparitions. Lillian Rogers parks the White House seamstress for decades, often heard footsteps pacing back and forth outside Lincoln's former bedroom. It's as if his energy is somehow imprinted on that part of the house.
Okay, I'm starting to get chills. So we've got sightings, sounds, and even faintings. What else? Did anyone ever try to, actually communicate with Lincoln's ghost?
There have been accounts of psychics and mediums being brought in to contact Lincoln's spirit, especially during times of crisis. The idea seems to be that he might offer guidance or support from beyond the veil.
Wow. So Lincoln's not just a ghost, he's like a spiritual advisor to the presidency. Okay, I need to hear more about this. What happened after FDR? Did the sightings stop? Or is Lincoln still roaming the halls of the White House?
They didn't stop with FDR, the Lincoln sightings. They continued throughout the 20th century, almost like he's woven into the fabric of the White House itself.
So even decades after his presidency, people were still sensing Lincoln's presence. What kind of encounters were they having?
Well, you have Truman being woken up by knocks on his bedroom door late at night, and then feeling this icy cold air. He attributed it to Lincoln's ghost.
I can see why. It's 3 a.m., you're the president, you hear a knock on your door. That's enough to make anyone think of ghosts.
Then there's Eisenhower. He casually mentioned to his press secretary about seeing Lincoln in the hallway.
Wait, just casually mentioned it like it was no big deal. Oh, by the way, saw Lincoln in the hallway today.
Yeah.
Anything else on the agenda?
That's almost more believable than someone making a big fuss about it. It does add a certain authenticity to the story. And it wasn't just presidents. Think about Jacqueline Kennedy at her famous renovations of the White House. There were rumors that those renovations stirred up a lot of paranormal activity, almost like Lincoln wasn't too thrilled about the changes to his house.
So even in death, Lincoln was still protective of his home. That's kind of sweet in a spectral way. But it also makes you wonder if Jacqueline Kennedy was redecorating, was Lincoln's ghost hovering over her shoulder, critiquing her choices.
Nikki, honey, what is that wallpaper? We fought a war to keep this country together, and you're putting that in the Lincoln bedroom.
It's a funny image. And the stories don't stop there. Susan Ford, Gerald Ford's daughter, refused to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom. And even Ronald Reagan's dog Rex refused to enter the Lincoln bedroom. It's as if they could sense something we can't.
Okay, now we're getting into creepy animal territory. I always thought dogs could sense things we couldn't. But a presidential dog avoiding the Lincoln bedroom, that's next level. It does make you wonder what they were picking up on. Moving on to the Clinton era, we have Roger Clinton, the president's brother, who claimed to have felt Lincoln's presence. And there's an unconfirmed sighting of Lincoln by a Clinton aide, though the White House dismissed it as a joke.
Right, because when you're dealing with the weight of the world on your shoulders, the last thing you want to admit is that you're sharing your office space with a ghost. But seriously, it seems like Lincoln's presence has been felt by so many people from all walks of life. Presidents, first ladies, family members, staff, even foreign dignitaries. What do you make of it all? Is the White House really that haunted?
That's the million-dollar question. Do these sightings happen more during times of national stress, almost as if Lincoln's spirit is trying to guide or offer support? Or is it simply the weight of his legacy lingering in those halls, a kind of echo of his powerful presence?
It's almost like he's a guardian angel for the presidency, watching over each administration, especially during tough times, which is pretty relevant right now, given the current political climate. Maybe we need Lincoln's wisdom now more than ever.
Perhaps. But what's also intriguing is how these stories tap into our hopes and desires. Maybe we want our greatest leaders to stick around, to offer guidance in times of need. And who better than Lincoln, the man who led the nation through its darkest hour?
Right, the man who held the country together during the Civil War. It's like we're searching for some kind of reassurance, some sign that we can get through these challenging times as well. And maybe these ghost stories offer a glimmer of that hope.
It's a powerful thought. It makes you wonder if you could actually talk to Lincoln's ghost. What would you ask him? What advice would you seek?
Wow. What would I ask Lincoln's ghost? Honestly, I think I'd be too scared to ask anything. But if I could get past the fear, I'd probably ask him how he managed to stay so calm and focused during the Civil War. I mean, the country was literally falling apart, and he somehow managed to hold it all together.
It's a question worth pondering. Imagine having access to the wisdom of someone who faced such incredible challenges and yet managed to persevere. What would you ask? What would you hope to learn?
I think we'd all like to know the answer to that question.
Maybe those answers are closer than we think, hidden within the walls of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Okay, now I'm officially spooked, but in a good way. You know, the kind that makes you want to keep digging deeper, keep exploring the mysteries. And speaking of mysteries, we've talked a lot about Lincoln, but what about some of the other presidents? Are there any stories about them having ghostly encounters?
Oh, absolutely. While Lincoln might be the most famous White House ghost, he's certainly not the only one, there are stories about other presidents encountering the unexplained as well.
Oh, really? Like who? What? Which presidents are we talking about?
Well, there's a story about Teddy Roosevelt. Apparently, he was working late one night when he heard footsteps outside his door. He opened the door, but there was no one there.
Spooky.
This happened several times, and Roosevelt eventually became convinced that it was the ghost of his predecessor, William McKinley.
It makes you wonder if being president is such a heavy job that it leaves some kind of imprint on the White House. Like maybe the energy of all those decisions, all that stress lingers long after they've left office.
That's a fascinating thought. And it's not just about presidents feeling a presence. There's a story about President Taft's wife, Helen Herron Taft. She was a big believer in the supernatural and claimed to have seen the ghost of Dolly Madison, James Madison's wife, in the Rose Garden.
With the Rose Garden. So not even the great outdoors is safe from White House ghosts.
Apparently not. And then there's the story of President Hoover's wife, Lou Henry Hoover. She was known to be very practical and down to earth, but even she admitted to feeling a strange presence in the White House. She even went so far as to have a seance in the Lincoln bedroom to try to contact the spirits.
I'm starting to think that living in the White House would be a constant test of your belief in the paranormal. It's
Yeah,
like, how could you not believe in ghosts after all these encounters?
it definitely makes you question things. And these stories aren't just limited to presidents and their families. There have been numerous accounts from White House staff members, from butlers to maids to Secret Service agents, all claiming to have seen or heard something unexplained.
I guess when you spend so much time in a place that's soaked in history, it's only natural to start feeling like the past is catching up with you.
And maybe that's what's so captivating about these stories. They blur the lines between past and present, between the living and the dead. And they remind us that even in a place as powerful and modern as the White House, there are still mysteries we can't explain.
Well said. It's a good reminder that no matter how much we think we know about the world, there's always something more to discover. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the ghosts of the White House, what do you think is the main takeaway for our listeners?
I think it's about recognizing the power of history and how it continues to shape our lives. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, these stories offer a glimpse into the past, a reminder that the people who came before us, especially our leaders, are still with us in some way.
It makes you think about the legacy we're leaving behind, the stories that will be told about us long after we're gone. And maybe it encourages us to be a little more mindful of the choices we make, the impact we have on the world.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, if we listen closely enough, we can hear the whispers of history guiding us towards a better future.
All right, folks, that's it for our Election 2024 special Ghosts of the White House. We hope you enjoyed this spooky detour from the usual political talk.
Remember, whether you believe in ghosts or not, these stories offer a fascinating glimpse into the human experience, our need to connect with the past, and perhaps even our hopes for the future.
Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and who knows, maybe you'll have your own ghostly encounter someday. Just remember to tell us all about it.